Welcome back to the Octopus Prime channel. In this video we're going to continue our whole cluster tutorial series, and we're going to be installing Docker and Docker Swarm on each of the nodes we prepared. Now if you haven't been following along, that's totally okay. You can use these instructions to install Docker and Docker Swarm on any, pretty much any Linux computer that you have that you want to make a Docker Swarm with, without having done the previous storage steps. It will still work. You just won't have access to the network storage that we previously set up. So if that sounds interesting to you, then look back in the playlist and you can see instructions on how to do that. So today will hopefully be a much shorter video. So let me share my screen here. Now I have got my 3 nodes running that we previously prepared. And these are Ubuntu nodes, and I went through that in great detail in the previous videos. But the commands we're going to run today will work on almost all Linuxes out there. So I have my nodes running already here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open a terminal, and I'm going to make it nice and big for you. And I'm going to go ahead and log in to node number 1. Okay, and so the first thing we want to do is we want to install Docker. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but Docker provides a really fantastic convenience script. So you don't need to install Docker from your repositories or anything like that. You can just use this convenience script and it'll fetch the latest Docker version for your correct version of Linux that you're running and install it on there. So that's what I'm going to use here. So we're going to use curl and -f capital S capital L, and then we're going to use the convenience script URL get.docker.com, and so that's going to fetch the script, and we're just going to pipe that straight into sudo shell. So if you're not sure about this script or you don't trust it and you're trying to do this on production systems, by all means, first go check out the script and read every line and make sure you're comfortable with it before you run it. I've been using this for a long time. I've never had an issue. It is their official script, and so let's go ahead and do this here. So I need to punch in my password for the sudo part. So while that's running, I'm going to also open a new tab, and I'm going to log into nodes 2 and 3. And we'll do the exact same thing. Get.docker.com, pipe it into sudo shell. Oops. Haha, my fantastic typing skills at work. Let's try that again. Okay, so that's going, and I'm going to just log into node number 3 as well. Make this big for you. And so you need to do this on each of the nodes that you want to include in Docker Swarm. Obviously they need to have Docker installed first, right? So that's the first step here. I think maybe I'm not good at multitasking and typing and talking to you at the same time. Okay, so that's installing on all 3 nodes. We can go back to node number 1. It looks like it's finished. We can check by saying sudo docker ps, and so that should list all running containers. There are none running right now, but if Docker wasn't installed or had an error or something, this would not work. So that was the first step. Node 2 and node 3 are still running. So we'll let those go. Now I'm going to follow the instructions directly from the Docker documentation, and I'll put the link in the description below the video for you, so you don't need to go hunting for it. We're going to initialize the Docker Swarm on node 1, and we do need the IP address for that. So I need to check what is the IP address of my node number 1. So this is my network adapter here. Here is the IP address for my node number 1. And it's going to be completely different for yours depending on your network, of course. So let's run this command here. So I need to always put sudo in front of docker on Ubuntu. We need to run it as root. There are ways to set it up as running under a user. I have found that to be greatly painful and troubling and causing more trouble than it's worth at this point. But I may revisit that at some point. And if I figure out how to do it really well, I'll do a video for you guys on it. So we're going to do swarm init. And we're going to say advertise address. And now I just need that address. So it's 192.168.1.194. Okay, so let's give that a try here. Okay, so it says swarm initialized. Gives us some current information. To add a worker node to the swarm, run the following command. To add a manager to the swarm, run docker swarm join token manager and follow the instructions. Okay, so let's talk about that for a sec. Should you join as a manager or as a worker node? Well, if we're setting up a cluster and we want to have a minimum of 3 sort of control nodes, which is what we did for the storage, so that we always have 3 replicas of everything. It would be good practice to also have 3 manager nodes in your Docker Swarm cluster. So whether you have 3, 10, 15, 20, 50 nodes, you should probably have at least 3 manager nodes, and the rest can be worker nodes. Since we only have 3 nodes here that we're working with, we're going to add the manager nodes. So let's do what it says here. So we're going to say sudo docker swarm join token manager. And so we're going to copy this command here. And that's what we're going to paste into the terminals of node 2 and node 3. If you add additional nodes later on, then you can use the worker command to join those nodes. They don't need to be managers. And you can join a worker node and later promote it to be a manager as well. So those are all options available to you. Okay, so let's go check on node 2. It's finished. Let's just double check that Docker is running here. Docker PS, it is. So we're all good. I'm going to go ahead and paste this command in here. Oh, and guess what I forgot? I forgot to put sudo. So try that again. This node joined a swarm as a manager. Now let's do the same thing on node number 3. Okay, so that one's also running. So let's paste this. This time I'm going to remember to put my sudo in front. And we'll do that. This node joined as a swarm manager. So how do we know? How do we check? So on any node, let me clear this out. We can do this on any node, but you can say sudo docker info. Now, if you scroll through here and look for, there's a whole bunch of information here, but if you look for the swarm heading, you'll see that the swarm is active, node ID, etc., that it's a manager. Okay, and you'll see how many nodes are in the swarm. So there's 3, and it'll even give you the addresses of all 3 nodes. Okay, so that's one way to tell. And the other way to tell is by saying sudo docker node ls. So as soon as you have a Docker Swarm, new commands become available to you that weren't available with just plain Docker before. So here's all our nodes, node 1, 2, and 3. They're all ready, they're all active, and right now node 1 is the leader because it was the first one that we did, but if we unplugged one of these nodes, another node will become the leader. But they're all ready and they're managers, and so each one can assume leadership, and it's good to have 3 to do that as a good practice. So we can check here. And you'll see the same thing on any node that you do that. And that's it. Look at that. I gave you guys a simple video for once instead of a big long drawn out thing. Unfortunately, some of the things that we're going to cover on this channel, some are really easy and some are not, and some have a lot of considerations, which is why the last two videos took a little bit longer, because that was the foundational layer. In the next video, I'm going to install Portainer into my Docker Swarm, and that's going to give us a beautiful user interface, a web-based user interface, and we can manage our entire swarm with that, and then we're going to be able to start doing some cool stuff. So the command line is going to be soon behind us here. So in the next videos, expect some colors and user interfaces to do all of this stuff. Hopefully that was helpful to you. Even if you haven't been following along, you should be able to use these exact same commands on any Linux system to install Docker and to create a swarm. Hopefully you guys are enjoying my content on this channel. If you are, like it and subscribe it, and I hope to see you on the next one.